Sunil Chetan says hello, Jason.
Hi, Sunil.
He's like, who's the second person there?
Yeah. So this that line will come later in the wasteland. Who is that other person? because we always have a feeling that some other person is there now. Occasionally.
It's Jason.
That's the last part, the other person. Yeah. Anyway, we'll just start the reading from part 3 beginning. The reverse 10 is broken. In a way, that is indicative of which season? Fall. Fall. The reverse 10 is broken. That means the leaves are start falling. The last finger of leaf clutched and sink into the wet bank. So, of course, the leaves, they fall, and finally they become damp. Then they go back to the bottom of the river. The wind crosses the brown land unheard. The brown land. So all vegetation is gone. The brown land, the wind is blowing. All celebration is over. In this land, all festivities have left. The nymphs have departed. The nymphs are departed. Of course, this could mean that olden times, the age of all poetic imagination, the beauty of imaginary creatures, the nymphs have been populating this land, but all of them are departed. But then suddenly, we remember, I already mentioned who there's an old poet, the sweet pems run softly. Spenser's Prothalamion, the marriage song. So in Spenser's Prothalamion, there have been nymphs coming, accompanying these people for the marriage. So all imaginary creatures coming and collecting from, of course, Prothalamion is the marriage song of two noble ladies. So they are presented as two swans, and the nymphs are coming and collecting flowers for the wedding. So step by step, and each of the stanzas end with this refrain: "Sweet hens, run softly till I end my song." There's a the river is flowing. Thames River is flowing fast. So don't flow so fast. Give us a little time. So there is that he wants to go on singing. But here, maybe there is another feeling. The time is flowing. The time is running. So don't run so fast. Then suddenly it goes on to speak of the river bank. The river bears, empty balls, sandwich papers, silk handkerchiefs, cardboard boxes, cigarette ends, or other testimony of summer nights. Maybe this river bank was so festive with all kinds of people, not nymphs, but the summer nights were full of people. They were celebrating, partying. All that partying is gone. Now, winter is coming. The nymphs are departed. So maybe in the partying, the nymphs are different nymphs. So they are not those poetic or those Greek times nymphs. Maybe other beautiful girls. The nymphs are departed. And their friends. The nymphs, the girls, their friends are also gone. The loitering heirs of city directors. The loitering heirs. They are the city directors. They make the money. And the heirs, their children, waste all their, hoarding, all their
It's not the directors who enjoy it, it's their kids.
It's a little wasted. So their friends, the friends of the nymphs, friends of the nymphs are these boys who come and celebrate. So see how suddenly shifting from those mythical times, those imaginary old and glorious times, to these dreary contemporary city context. The loitering airs of city directors departed, have left no addresses. They've had a good time, not even the address. At least they could have gone there, not even the address, and have left no addresses. By the river, by the waters of Leman, I sat down and wept. By the waters of Leman, I already mentioned that. Leman, yeah, it's a lake in Geneva. So, Lausanne, one of the places Eliot visited in 1921 for a rest and cure, in a place where he partly wrote this book. Also, another meaning is in Middle English. Yeah, Middle English. This layman means sexual partner. Layman, maybe one who lays with the layman. Not the other lady. Layman.
The vocation of the lady.
What means? So the Cyril got a new word now.
This is going to come up in people's formation. Plans.
Yeah. Pardon?
No, these kind of things like people have first they had like so something.
Yeah. I know they're sitting here. Yeah.
Very strong.
Yeah, it's a very, very strong image, They have departed. No, suddenly he's shifting from here and there, but then an image comes up very strongly of by waters of Leman, I sat down and wept. Of course, Psalm 137, by the rivers of Babylon, we sat down and wept. Our captors told us, sing us a song of Zion. But how can we sing the Lord's song? How can we sing the songs of Zion in our captivity? So very poignant, very deeply distressing song. But here, maybe one who has lost not the Zion, not the promised land, but the virginity of Christ. By the waters of Leman, I sat down and wept. And the refrain comes back again. Sweet Thames run softly, till I end my song. Sweet Thames run softly, for I speak not loud and long. I'm not speaking too long, too loud. I'm not speaking too long or too loud. But at my back, in a cold blast, I hear. At my back, in a cold blast, I hear. There are two very strong images here. So he goes, the rattle of bones and a chuckle spread from ear to ear. A rattle of bones. Of course, here, and we will go on to speak of the Fisher King. What is the Fisher King? You remember the image? Fisher King. The Fisher King is we heard from in the beginning of the poem that myth of Grail legend. So Grail legend, the Grail is protected by the Fisher King. Here again, the Fisher King he's maimed and he's sitting and fishing in the lost land. So, but here at my back, in a cold blast, to a couple of images. One suddenly, anyone who knows Literature would think of this famous poem by Andrew Marvell. Andrew Marvell. Andrew Marvell belonged to the school of John Donne. No? John Donne. You remember John Donne?
Yes, yes.
John Donne and then what is the, you remember the school of poetry, the school of poetry. Wrong questions, but the tutor would go on asking such questions. I told you the John Donne and these Andrew Marvell and Cashew and others, Russia and others were they were almost contemporaries of Shakespeare, but they wrote very modern contemporary poems. Very modern kind of poems. And their school of poetry was called metaphysical poets. Metaphysical poets, because they combined, sometimes very earthly themes, very secular themes with a very philosophical thoughts. That's why Johnson, great critic Johnson called them metaphysical poets. And he jokingly used it, but they are very metaphysical, very deeply, spiritual poets also and philosophical poets. But then Andrew Marvell's poem, famous poem is To His Coy Mistress. To His Coy Mistress. The theme is interesting. Coy, shy. To his shy mistress. So this whoever it is some kind of a one person speaking to this unseen lady. He is going on saying, "My lady, your shyness is good." Of course, I will start describing your, each part of your body. This lovers are like that. They go on describing. I will take maybe 100 years to describe your eyes. Maybe 1,000 years to your nose. Then to your chin, maybe another 1,000 years. And this goes on describing each part. Because you deserve it actually. But we don't have all the time. Because at my back, I hear what? The chariot of death racing.
Yeah.
This is it. This is what kind of thing? We don't have time. Huh? We don't have time.
Hurry up, please. It's
Yeah. Hurry up, please. It's time. What is it? Carpe diem. Carpe diem. So, Carpe diem. It's one very beautiful, famous poem. Is simple one. You can read sometime. To his coy mistress. And these are the lines are finally Andrew Marvell is saying, I'm reading from this poem. But at my back, I always hear Time's winged chariot hurrying near. At my back, I always hear Time's winged chariot hurrying near. So, what is time? Yeah. So, again, we saw earlier the chess game of the Seventh Seal, the film, no? Seventh Seal, the Swedish famous film. It's just again, death. It's a chess game between death and the night. The constant theme. So death is constantly chasing us. So of course, this Carpe diem theme is that my love, let's enjoy. So it's a frenzied enjoyment of the chalice of love, the enjoyment of the chalice, a frenzied enjoyment. Because it becomes a mad enjoyment. And he goes on saying that finally, this coy mistress ends with saying that let us, pull all our joy into a roll and, let us roll this, our love and crash against this death, the gate of death. So he becomes such a frenzied thing,
What an expression.
So, it is a very interesting quote. It's a short, very light one. Though it is 400 years old, but it is quite contemporary. So these are these lines. But at my back, I always hear times being a chariot, hurrying near, and yonder, all before us, lie deserts of vast eternity. So death is coming, and then it's a dry land of eternity. We don't know what it is. Maybe it is a wasteland. Who knows? After that, so that why we have youthfulness in us. Let's enjoy. This is his theme. Now here, suddenly we are reminded of this at my back. In a cold blast. It is at my back, I always hear. At my back, in a cold blast, I hear the rattle of bones. The rattle of bones. Right? So it is earlier, I don't know, we don't see here, we don't see rattle of bones in Singapore. But then back in India, we don't have all the land that you have. Here you have extensive lands where you have these tools, cemetery tools. There, they when the new death happens, you take these bones and dump the bones in the bone pits behind there in the cemetery, the bone pit. All these bones are. So that is there are bone pits at the back of cemeteries. That is these cockroaches, roaches, and all these rattle, rats. So at my back, in a cold blast, I hear the rattle of bones and a chuckle spread from ear to ear. Who has the largest, laugh, the biggest smile? Yeah, Scarlet. All the eyes you can, all the teeth you can see. Like Brother Benedict, so many people you can see.
Gotta work harder, Brother Benedict.
But then the smile of Scarlet versus the widest smile. The widest. The final. So the chuckle spread from ear to ear, literally. Literally. It reminds us of the smile of the skull. Yeah. So at my back, what I'm saying is one of the very typical image. If you look for some of the images on Carpe Diem, you will find clock face. Then, behind maybe lovers, scarlet. So, yeah, is it? Did you find it?
No. Yeah, so I see some clocks and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So some of the images, one of the traditional images of Carpe Diem.
It's Carpe Diem.
But Carpe Diem seize the day. Seize the day. Carpe Diem. See the Latin word. Carpe
What's
diem.
the name of the poem it comes from?
This is Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, right? So Omar Khayyam was one, but then it was from Homer's poem in which this is mentioned. Homer mentions this phrase. Yes. No, Horace, not Homer, Horace. The Italian word Horace. Homer is Greek. Italian word Horace mentions this phrase.
In which one?
I mentioned last time.
Odes.
Ode, one of the odes. So, but at my back, any old blast I hear, the rattle of bones and chuckle spread from year to year, which only means that death is hopeless behind this fisher king. A rat crept slowly through the vegetation, dragging its slimy belly on the bank, while I was fishing in the dull canal on a winter evening round behind the gas house. Very amazing. so this is again the image of the fisher king sitting and fishing in the dull canal. Dull canal means the stagnant waters, no? The dull canal, the stagnant waters, fishing there. On a winter evening, round behind the gas house, musing upon the king my brother's wreck, and on the king my father's death before him. Does anything sound? Musing, reflecting on, musing upon the king my brother's wreck, and on king my father's death before him. This is from Tempest again. Pardon. The poem goes on to speak about or living there with that. He's asking if he was there. What are some of the Latin songs sung during funerals? That's he's asking.
Requiem. There's this band, David Crowder, the guy he converted and became Catholic. They had asked him to perform at a Catholic event or something, and he had this profound experience of the Eucharist.
Yeah.
And then they did like one entire album. His last album, the band broke up because the main guy got converted. But they made this like incredibly beautiful experimental album just on the Requiem Mass, which is like the funeral mass in Latin. So he just like
I know.
I don't know. That's I only know they're like riff on it.
Dona eis Domine. Requiem aeternam, Dona eis Domine. Lux perpetuam.
And Tim's brushing up on his Latin. So I'm doing that.
So I've completed 19 days without break.
19 days,
Yeah, without break.
okay, but I started with you, I mean, like, I started, it would be, I'm on 16. It would be 15.
Okay. Yeah. So this is now this musing upon. This is from Tempest I mentioned. We remember this Ferdinand. So these are the lines from Shakespeare. Sitting on a bank, weeping again, the king my father's wreck. This music crept by me upon the waters, allaying both their fury and my passion with its sweet air. So this is the setting off, and then the Ariel song comes. Full fathom find thy father lies, Those are pearls that were his eyes. Look, those lines come after that. So here, I already mentioned Ferdinand. There was this shipwreck. They thought it was a shipwreck, but it was something that created by Ariel in the Prospero's island. And then he purposely wanted to separate Ferdinand the prince and bring him alone to his cave. For what? The father's, great anxiety for
marrying the girl.
daughter. So he has been living. This magician has been living alone in this island. Prospero, yes, Prospero has been living alone in this island, and then his daughter, who Miranda, is of age. So while this ship is going, of course, his enemies going by this island for another wedding ceremony to another place, but then he creates a storm, and then they man in a shipwreck. They are all stranded, but Ariel, the good servant spirit, brings Ferdinand separately, and he is now so very much bereaved and upset about the death of his father and death of his brother and all that. And he hears the song of Ariel, full fathom, five thy father lies. Those are pearls that are in his eyes. Look, all that. Then he meets this angelic apparition. And he falls in love immediately with the girl. Of course, Shakespeare's last, the final drama of reconciliation, love, and all that. So here, he's juxtaposing along with this beautiful land of Shakespeare, and again the Fisher King. They hear a pathetic situation where our narrator is looking at which is the river here, Sweet Thames, not so sweet now. Stagnant waters, smelly waters, where these dirty rats are creeping. This is a wasteland now. In the background of all the beauty, all the greatness of these olden times of, Prothalami and all that, this is it. So a rat crept slowly through the vegetation, dragging its slimy belly on the bank, while I was fishing in the dull canal on a winter evening round behind the gas house, musing upon the king my brother's wreck, and on the king my father's death before him. White bodies naked on the low, damp ground. White bodies naked on the low, damp ground. Image can be a sexual image, can also be an image of death. So from the background of these by the rivers of layman sitting and crying, this could also be the white body of a naked body. But white bodies naked on low, damp ground, and bones cast in a little low, dry garret, till by man's foot only, year to year. But here it's only decay. Here it's only, death. All the beauty has vanished. But at my back, from time to time, I hear, again repeating, but at my back. Earlier it was at my back, in a cold blast I hear. At my back, from time to time, I hear, again death, but suddenly it shifts. The sound of horns and motors, which shall bring Sweeney to Mrs. Potter in the spring. Oh, the moon shone bright on Mrs. Potter and water, and they washed their feet in soda water. That used to be a ballad song that these drunken sailors would sing. Oh, the moon shone bright on Mrs. Potter and on her daughter. They washed their feet in soda water, not feet, something else. But that could not be said here. Because I was feeling that washing in soda water will avoid pregnancy. So this is Mrs. Potter is a famous brothel keeper. So these sailors singing these vulgar songs. Shakespeare, T.S. Eliot is quickly taking this and shifting it, but whoever hears it knows what this song is all about. The sound of, at my back from time to time I hear, the sound of horns and motors, which shall bring Sweeney to Mrs. Potter in the spring. Now, all this, there are a couple of references here. They're not so important, but still, in a old English, writing called the Parliament of Bees. There is a Shakespeare, T.S. Eliot says, there is this these lines. When of the sudden listening you shall hear noise of horns and hunting, which shall bring Actaeon to Diana in the spring, where all shall see her naked skin. Actaeon to Diana. There is a mythical reference here. You know Diana. Who is Diana? The greatest beauty of mythical Greece, the huntress goddess, the goddess of hunting. Of course, she is also the goddess of chastity. Because all these Greek mythical stories, only Greek, Indian also, all these mythical stories will have gods, traveling in chariots through the sky, suddenly alighting somewhere and seeing some goddess taking bath in some pond. This is the perennial story.
Why do so many people bathe in the open? That's my question. Like, put something up, people.
Why don't you ask about David the same question?
I know. It's just like, why are you in the?
I mean, you never asked him.
It's their responsibility first.
Don't tell it 3 times, the modern people will get idea.
The monk is speaking.
Another problem to solve.
I know. So here,
So she's a huntress god.
she's Diana is a very famous in various. What all things were different, no?
I was just looking at, I was just looking at
Yeah.
pictures. I was like, who's this
Yeah.
huntress chastity god?
Yes. So Actaeon,
What a.
the Actaeon looks at goddess, this chastity, goddess of chastity, Diana, as she bathes naked. And but she suddenly sees this. And of course, she should curse him, no? So he's Actaeon is hunting, and then he sees the goddess taking bath. And then he turns. Diana curses him, and he's turned into a stag.
Interesting.
And then the stag is hunted down by his own dogs, killed by his own hounds. This is from, Ovid's Metamorphoses. the story of Actaeon. Now, this in the olden times, this story of Actaeon was often used to exemplify the bad effects of lust. It is. So don't ask that question. Why women are. But there was scarcity of clothing at that time. They did not have clothes as we used to have now. That was a problem.
The gods were poor. So that-
Even the gods
Gods
were.
Even the goddesses were poor. And now you never understand that. Yeah. In all these stories, it is there.
Yeah, that's kind of
Yeah.
interesting.
So this is the, what I'm saying is, there is this echo of this, sound of horns and motors, which shall bring Sweeney. So Sweeney, again we will see Sweeney later. Sweeney is even T.S. Eliot uses, he titles one poem also Sweeney. But here again later we'll see this Sweeney, a character Sweeney, a 1 weak character. Here he reappears as a sailor later. So Sweeney to Mrs. Potter in the spring. So when the spring, this sailor will come. Then suddenly he gives this, places this song here, this ballad here. Oh, the moon shone bright on Mrs. Potter and on her daughter. They wash their feet in soda water. Do we have what reference here? Oops, you've forgotten about
Oh, my bad, everybody.
Nobody's looking. Yeah. So
Right at the end.
these lines from a song sung by Australian troops during the Gallipoli campaign, the famous World War campaign. This is Eliot gives a polite wording for soda water. That is it. So they were not singing about the lady's feet. So, okay. Now, we continue. So, this must be French, no? Anyone French here? You don't know.
Actually, is that right? Is it Latin?
He's a language guy.
It's
I can do a Creole version.
was
Et ces voix d'enfants chantant dans la.
Maybe Sonia.
It is oh, those children's voices singing in the chapel. Oh, those children's voices singing in the dome of chapel. Choir loft. Choir loft is Kapole. So suddenly, all those children singing in the church. There's angelic singing in the chapel. What's that? This is from Verlaine's poem Persephone. Famous French poem, Persephone. Now, all those children's voices singing in the dome. Yeah, it is there. See, Persephone, do you remember Persephone? Verlaine is talking about for the chalice, quest, grail quests. So when the knight reaches this chapel, beyond the wasteland, this rocky land, he will have to face a lot of adventurous things. This chaste knight, it's only a chaste knight will be able to reach the chapel where the Lord's chalice, what grail, Holy Grail is kept. The Holy Grail is kept in this desert, in this wilderness, in the chapel, in that lonely chapel. And one sign in the chapel is that angels, you will hear angels, the chaste children's singing you will hear. The chaste song you will hear there.
Cherubs.
Cherubs singing. You will hear there. Hear the song there. Those are the children's voices, the innocent voices, singing in the choir loft. So suddenly, the singing of these drunken sailors is juxtaposed with your yearning for something chaste and pure. Even in this dirty or religious and ugly, immoral context, there is the memory of your search or the narrator. Who? The narrator. Who is the narrator?
The guy.
That's yes.
Tiresias is yearning for the song. Oh, the song.
So that means Tiresias is hearing both the voices at the same time.
Tiresias is seeing all this dirt and he is sitting and fishing in this dirty canal, witnessing all this. But even as he is seeing this dirt, he's also listening to the song from. Later we'll hear the song again. But again, we are reminded of not this dirt, but there is the other beauty and holiness juxtaposed. So rolling first cheering. Remember?
What is it?
Darius, the nightingale.
What is Darius?
Darius.
Darius, the king.
Oh, it's the
The
same.
Malikan king. Yeah, Darius. Who? Which story?
Who raped the sister-in-law?
Philemon story. The nightingale story. The nightingale. Philemon became nightingale. And he's still hunting. The bird songs. But the bird songs, here you sing twit twit, jug jug, and teru are the sounds of the nightingale songs. This has been used for long by various poets, especially John Lilly, L.Y., 1554 to 1606, John Lilly. He used a combination in Trico's song in his play Campaspe. He wrote his play in it, so there's a song. And this is how, in 1500s, he writes, John Lilly. What bird so sings, yet so does wail? What bird so sings, yet so does wail? Oh, 'tis the ravished nightingale. Ravished. Huh? The ravished nightingale. Answer there. Look, tell you. She cries. The old spelling. So this is, of course, this is also indicative of the sexual act. The sounds are indicative of the sexual act. So, yep, you're joining?
Sure.
Very good. So this treat line 200. But again, we are told again and again, the immoral sex, the immoral lust pervades the wasteland. This unproductive lust, this perhaps the greatest liability or the filth of the wasteland is the most sacred and beautiful relational or love is in a way dirty, so rudely forced, indicative of the ravishing, the rape, tearing. Suddenly there is a shift. Unreal city. Unreal city. Later also we'll find. Which is the unreal city? Later we'll see London, Paris, Rome, New York, or what is in Florida? Which city?
Miami, it really is unreal.
Unreal city.
That's the wasteland.
So these are the unreal cities. Unreal city. Under the brown fog of a winter noon. Mr. Eugenides, the Smyrna merchant, unshaven, with a pocket full of currency of London documents inside, asked me. At one breath, the description comes. Unreal city. It is all commerce, money. Unreal city. Under the brown fog of a winter noon. Brown fog indicates polluted city. Polluted. Maybe by the factory smoke, smog. Under the brown fog, but this pollution indicates a spiritual pollution. This ecological liability indicates deep human corruption, soul corruption. Under the brown fog of a winter noon, it's noontime, still it is fog. Question has been under.
Unreal city.
Yeah, dirty fog for 11 days. Because the waste dump has been burning for 11 days and people fled the city. Fortunately, I was able to flee even earlier. 3 months before. It was horrible, they say. You heard, no?
Yeah. The politicians knew, that's why they came early.
The air is in the coal mine.
There's a lot of politics in it. So, the unreal city. Under the brown fog of a winter noon, Mr. Eugenides. Mr. Eugenides. Eugenides is, again, this is perhaps from the Greek Eugenus, means well-born. Eugenides.
Oh.
Just a name.
Eugenics.
Eugenics, yeah. Yeah. So Eugenides, the Smyrna merchant, suddenly it goes. Smyrna merchant. So it's an ancient name. Smyrna, where was Smyrna? Smyrna. Smyrna, an ancient name. Yeah. Smyrna was a seaport in western Turkey. on an arm of Aegean Sea, and now called Izmir, site of one of the 7 churches in Asia to which are addressed St. John's Revelations. Smyrna. Smyrna. So that means ancient, even for St. John was an ancient land. Yeah.
No, there's a beach up north.
I didn't.
Florida.
Oh, really?
Florida's like all important names, yeah.
It is,
Naples.
But the natives,
Venice.
Florida has a.
Smyrna. Also, America has all great places.
I mean, he's,
All
how would you travel the world? But you could just wander.
of the streets. Yeah.
No reason to.
So, yeah.
Really, it's Naples. Everything
Yeah, so he's a Smyrna merchant. You denied it. Smyrna merchant, unshaven. He has no time to shave. So busy, unshaven. That indicates his character also. All the time he's, busy, unshaven. Yeah. With pocket full of currants. Dried up grapes, of course. For as Catholics, these good, such grapes are taken for making mass wine. Yeah. So we don't know whether there's an indication. Pocket full of currants, CAF London documents inside. This is, what is CAF? Is a
Carriage and insurance free.
or cost, insurance, and right. So they talk about these when they're talking about these business things. They say that it is everything is insured. Like they say that the thing will be paid by let's say these are the commercial terms. See the description of this Smyrna merchant, Eugenides. Description of Eugenides. These people will be all the time talking of the price. Like if you go and talk to these share traders, they'll be all the time talking of their share price. Or if it is now this Bitcoin people, wherever you go, then they'll start talking of that. So yeah, the business people, they have all the time. CAF London, documents at site, all that. So Mr. Eugenides, the Smyrna merchant, unshaven, with pocket full of currants, CAF London, documents at site. That's the 3 lines of this description only. He asked me in demotic French, slang French, common French, which means he's affecting some culture. You should speak some culture. So you have to learn a little French, in demotic French, to luncheon at Cannon Street Hotel. Cannon Street Hotel is a London hotel frequented in 1920s by businessmen from the continent. This was a business hotel. And followed by a weekend at the Metropole. Metropole is the large resort hotel in Brighton, a popular holiday town on the south coast of England. And one thing is, these places are famous for, some gay people, such, so there is an invitation to stay in a hotel often had a sexual undercurrent here when you're talking of this. So this person, the whole conversation is indicative of kind of a sexual escapade that is indicated here. Should we take 10 minutes more? Yeah, one more piece. So there's a gap now. There's a gap now. And then there is another sudden incident at the violet hour. When the eyes and back turn upward from the desk. When human engine waits like a taxi, throbbing, waiting at the violet hour. So violet hour is, evening time. Violet hour. The evening time. So at the violet hour, when eyes and back turn upward from the desk. Like now, Felix must be in that. You had a hectic day. Huh? So, yeah, isn't it? The eyes, you finally look up, the back also, when you're so tired. The eyes and back turn upward from the desk, especially if you are a office working person. Hard work, finally you stretch your back and raise your eyes. When human engine waits like a taxi, throbbing, waiting, these taxis waiting.
Yeah.
Not here your cars, the old old taxi cars. It will wait. It will have a sound that way. The old, he's writing 1900 in the 1920s. So the human engine waits like a taxi, throbbing and waiting. I, Tiresias. So Tiresias is saying, I am also waiting. I, Tiresias. Now, I think first time the speaker comes out here,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Until now, we never knew who the speaker was. So the I suddenly comes up here. Tiresias. So a little comment on Tiresias. I think this is important. To understand, I already mentioned before, but then this I, Tiresias. Tiresias is the speaker in the poem. To understand the poem, perhaps, though he's bringing after 200, almost 200, after 200 lines, almost the middle of the poem, Tiresias is the, I already mentioned, he is the center. So Tiresias, although in one way, he is a mere spectator. Now also we are going to see another sexual contact now. That's the scene. And Tiresias is watching that also. So he's watching everything. He can see everything. All these scenes are what Tiresias saw. The first one was Mari, Larish. Then, so different scenes that we saw. So all these are what Tiresias saw. So though he's a spectator and not indeed a character, yet he's the most important personage in the poem, uniting all the rest. So in one way, in Tiresias, everything is combined. Like there's the one-eyed merchant, you will find the one-eyed merchant, seller of currants now, seller of currants, or the Phoenician sailor we meet, or the Prince of Ferdinand, the Prince of Naples, again, Tiresias, he is reborn in all these characters. And two sexes meet in heaven. In other words, what Tiresias sees is in fact the substance of the poem. Now, this idea of Tiresias is taken from Ovid's Metamorphoses. Again and again, we have heard about, even many times, Ovid's Metamorphoses we found. This is I'm reading a passage from Ovid's Metamorphoses. I mentioned it already, but still, directly from Ovid, I'm reading Ovid's Metamorphoses. I think it's the. So now it chanced that Jove in the story, Jove and Juno, the gods. So it so chanced that Jove, while warmed with wine, put care aside and bandied good-humored jest with Juno in an idle hour. So these two gods are sitting and chatting. Both of them had a little wine. So when you have a little too much wine, then you start, your tongue becomes loose. So the master god is talking to his wife. So Jove said, I maintain that your pleasure in love is greater than that which we enjoy. Men don't enjoy so much, women enjoy more sex. That is what love, that's what Jove told Juno. She held the opposite. So they started arguing. So they decide to ask the judgment of wise Tiresias, because he knew both sides of love. Because once, while he was walking into the street, he found two snakes mating. Who? Tiresias. Then, these sometimes they would mate and they would go. But you sometimes create, he took a snake and, beat the snake. But then the serpents were so angry and they cursed him and he became a woman. So he became a woman. So Tiresias, the man, became a woman through the curse of the snakes, serpents. And then he spent 7 years as a woman. He lived. Then one day he was walking then he found on the way again two snakes mating. So he remembered his old killer. Then he took a stick again and started chasing them. Then they cursed him again. So he was changed back into man again. So in that way, Tiresias had the experience of male existence as well as female existence. So he knew the better of the both worlds, what it is to be a woman and what it is to be man. Because in every marriage, this is the problem. No?
Because he came to Florida.
Actually, it's really neat hearing about like people who do transition and like when they describe like life as a woman versus a man. It's very interesting.
But in peak times, they did not have all this subject.
They didn't have all that.
So now, so he had this thing, both experiences. So now he therefore they were asked to arbitrate between this dispute of gods. Now Juno, now when they asked, he said that maybe because now he's a man, he said actually women have got more joy, pleasure out of love, he said. But Juno was not a good, many women they don't take a joke properly. Many women.
Why are you laughing at me?
You are the only one who can.
I do not take that joke well anytime.
This is a problem. Women don't take a joke.
Demonstrating.
At last.
So she became so angry, and
She cursed him.
cursed her.
Yeah, everything cursed.
They were in mythology. So,
Tiresias is walking into it.
so he became blind now. So then, of course, the Almighty Father, that is Job, anyway, this person had to suffer because of him. So he gave him, Job gave him, he couldn't, once one God does something, you cannot correct that. You can give something else. That's all. So what he did was, he gave Tiresias the power to see future. That means he was given this capacity for prophetic powers to be a seer.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
He could not correct his wife. He will be in danger. You see what is happening and act.
Sounds like they were the third pair of serpent.
And now we know that he becomes a very important figure in the Theban legend. The Theban legend is it is because there's Oedipus legend, Oedipus story, Thebes, king of Thebes. Oedipus is king of Thebes. He was cursed with the curse from Apollo, even before born. He was cursed that he would kill his father and marry his mother. That was a curse. And of course, they want to, put him out of that. They try to kill him. His father tries to kill him, throw him away. But then it goes on and on. Then he runs away from this curse. But then eventually he kills his father and marries his mother, Jocasta. And he marries his mother. And this is the three famous Greek tragedies, in which also Tiresias comes. In all these three dramas, Oedipus Rex, in Oedipus Colonus, and the third one is Antigone. Yeah, Antigone. All three. In all three, Tiresias comes as a turning point.
Wow.
So Tiresias is so important in all these stories. So here in T.S. Eliot's Wasteland also Tiresias is there. And Tiresias is going to see this side. I think we better stop here. Otherwise, we cannot enter into the next story. Another very saucy, very interesting stories come. Okay then. Any quick thoughts, especially those who are online?
I just
Yeah.
thought it's just good to see the parallel, the same time good and bad happens at the same time,
Yeah.
which kind of probably defines our story as well.
Mm.
In one sense, so how we are also united with others, and we are creating complement for them in some form. So there is some connection, redemption by our own virtue of life. So I thought that's kind of a good part to see.
Yeah. Yeah. The good comes up again and again, even in this decay and degeneration.
But it's related, it's connected.
It's connected
not,
also.
It's not
Yeah,
like
yeah,
they both
yeah.
are disconnected, but
Yeah, or evil is the other side of good.
Song that's smiling. It's profound.
Yeah.
You never look at that.
Yeah.
From peak to
See,
peak.
year to year. Yeah. So Joe,
I was wondering, T.S. Eliot had some issues against French people.
French people.
Do you think so?
Anyway, from US, he ran to England.
yeah.
He's not like America anyway.
France was part of the Allies, World War I.
yes, they were alive, yes, French, yes. But
English and French are always existed.
they were constantly fighting. English and French had constant fights.
Yeah.
They
I see a
all-
little contempt in the tone.
Very good.
I was thinking about just like with about the cherub singing as
Yeah.
he's watching the rape or whatever it is exactly that's happening. Like in Brothers Karamazov, like Dostoevsky has like the father is like just like a very like licentious man. Like he will sleep with any woman he sleeps with, like even like a retarded, like homeless, like person, like woman and all this stuff. But then one of his sons becomes atheist, one of his sons becomes like a monk, and then one of his sons is like him, like licentious and stuff. But he goes on this like beautiful like thing about what as he's explaining, and he indulges like whatever he feels like doing, he will do. But he had this like one line where he said he talks about like the contradictory impulses within the person and how these two exist, and he says, I can't endure the thought that a man of lofty mind and heart begins with the ideal of the Madonna and ends with the ideal of Sodom. What's still more awful is that a man with the ideal of Sodom in his soul does not renounce the ideal of the Madonna. So just like this, it's interesting, both of being there. And Tiresias himself also is like the holding together.
Yeah, holding together of all the rings, all the things. Yeah. Okay, very good. Next week. Thank you.
Thank
Right, thank you.
Yeah.
He's probably watching this.
That is what he
It's
is.
live, we can't watch it.
Yeah, he's probably seen it. He's probably already seen it. Stranger thing.
Bye, everybody.